might have seen it on the way in over by the elevators. I would show you, but I'm sort of confined to this desk.
Do you ship?
Special delivery, you could have it in 2 or 3 days. They'd even assemble it for you.
Well, that's that. So.
She floats across our feeds like a soft whisper, glassy skin, slick back bun, gold hoops catching the light just so. She's dressed in matching beige athleisure. Her apartment is flooded with sunlight, and her morning routine includes journaling, jade rolling, and sipping iced matcha from a reusable glass tumbler. You know her already. She's the clean girl, and she's everywhere. At first glance, the clean girl aesthetic seems harmless, even admirable. It's all about looking fresh, put together, and effortlessly radiant. But the more we scroll, the more we realize this isn't just about beauty. This is an ideal, a lifestyle, a quietly luxurious fantasy dressed up as minimalism. It's the illusion of ease, carefully packaged for mass consumption. And underneath its glossy surface lies something far more curated than it appears. Because the clean girl isn't just a trend. She's an image recycled from decades of media history, fashion advertisements, and cultural messaging about what women should look like. We've seen her before in 1990s Calvin Klein ads, in the pared-down elegance of Carolyn Bassett Kennedy, in the glossy pages of Glossier campaigns promising skin first, makeup second. Her current revival is part Sofia Richie wedding content, part Vogue wellness editorial, and part aspirational lifestyle TikTok, blending soft visuals with subtle signals of privilege and control. So in today's video, we're peeling back the layers of this trend to ask, where did the clean girl really come from? What does she reveal about our collective craving for simplicity? And why, despite being branded as modern and fresh, does she feel so familiar, so vintage? Because if we've learned anything from beauty history, it's this. Every effortless look has a backstage routine, and the clean girl, for all her polished glow, might not be as clean or as new as she seems. Chapter 1, Filtered Femininity, How TikTok Made Clean the New Beautiful. The clean girl aesthetic didn't just appear out of nowhere. It bloomed on TikTok sometime around 2021, right in the middle of a cultural shift. The world was still collectively recovering from the chaos of the pandemic. People were burned out, overstimulated, and craving simplicity, visually, emotionally, and physically. So when soft, dewy faces and slick buns started dominating the For You page, it wasn't just a beauty trend, it was a soothing escape. This aesthetic was the polar opposite of the maximalist makeup era that defined the late 2010s. Think back to the Instagram face, razor-sharp contouring, blinding highlighter, false lashes, overlined lips, and brows so sculpted they looked stenciled on. It was dramatic, transformative, and proud of it. The entire movement, largely shaped by the rise of beauty influencers and reality TV stars like Kim Kardashian, made makeup into a kind of performance. But by 2021, it began to feel heavy, overdone, too much for a world that was suddenly rethinking its relationship with appearance, routine, and consumption. Enter the clean girl. She wasn't loud, she didn't contour. Her beauty was natural, her skin was breathable, and her eyebrows were brushed up, not blocked out. In many ways, Glossier laid the foundation for the shift as early as 2014, with its now iconic skin first, makeup second philosophy. But while Glossier invited women to embrace a lower maintenance version of beauty, TikTok took that idea and turned it into a full-blown lifestyle movement. On TikTok, the clean girl isn't just about looking fresh, it's about living clean. She meal preps kale salads in glass containers. She drinks lemon water first thing in the morning. Her skincare fridge is organized by serum type. Her apartment is awash in sunlight, and her sheets are linen, always in neutral tones. There's a soundtrack too, something soft, lo-fi, usually paired with voiceovers about wellness, productivity, and self-love. Even her rest is optimized. In this world, being clean is more than being hygienic. It's about being in control of your body, your space, your mood. The clean girl is polished, not messy, serene, not chaotic. Everything about her feels intentional, which makes the aesthetic incredibly aspirational, but also deeply performative, because what we're really seeing isn't a no makeup look, but a new kind of highly curated image. What makes a clean girl so compelling is the illusion of ease. She appears effortless, but everything about her, from her skincare routine to her aesthetic coffee order, is carefully constructed. This illusion is what draws people in. It suggests that if you can master this look, maybe you can master your life too. But this isn't just the first time we've seen this kind of beauty standard. The clean girl is just the latest face of an age-old archetype. The woman who's graceful, composed, and never out of place. She just happens to have TikTok lighting and a refillable Stanley tumbler. Chapter 2, the 1990s blueprint, when minimalism became the ultimate luxury. To understand today's clean girl, we need to rewind to the 1990s, the original decade of effortless chic. Even if you weren't around back then, the imagery is hard to miss. Calvin Klein campaigns in stark black and white, models with wet hair and bare faces gazing blankly at the camera, and the ethereal elegance of Carolyn Bassett Kennedy walking her dog in downtown Manhattan, dressed in a black turtleneck and tailored pants. This was the decade that defined an entire generation's idea of cool. And it did so through restraint. In many ways, the 90s were the blueprint for the clean girl vibe. Beauty was deliberately stripped back. Makeup was matte and minimal. Hair was straight, sleek, and parted in the middle. The goal was to look as if you had just rolled out of bed and somehow look perfect by accident. This wasn't about glamour or glitz. It was about aloofness, control, and a kind of cultivated detachment. You weren't trying hard. In fact, you weren't trying at all. Enter Kate Moss, the face of heroin chic, a controversial beauty trend that emerged in stark contrast to the bold, sculpted supermodels of the late 80s like Cindy Crawford and Naomi Campbell. Kate Moss's wave-like frame, pale skin, and androgynous presence embodied a darker, moodier form of minimalism, one that traded in ambiguity and anti-glamour. It wasn't about looking healthy or strong. It was about looking cool, and the 90s cool meant effortless. And just like the clean girl of today, this effortless look required anything but ease. Because behind the scenes, even the most minimal looks demanded discipline. Thinness was expected, skincare was paramount. The makeup had to look invisible, but still flawless. Clothing was simple, yes, but it had to be the right kind of simple. A perfect slip dress, a pristine white tank, a pair of Levi's that looked like they'd been effortlessly found in a thrift store, but probably cost a small fortune. Just like the clean girl's neutral-toned wardrobe today, 90s minimalism wasn't about owning less, it was about owning better. There was also a strong undercurrent of class signaling baked into this aesthetic. Minimalism became a visual code for old money elegance. Consider Gwyneth Paltrow in her early red carpet years, often seen in satin skirts and minimal makeup, radiating in an air of natural sophistication. Or Carolyn Bassett Kennedy herself, who famously shunned flashy logos and designer name dropping in favor of quiet tailoring and impeccable basics. She didn't need to prove her status, it was implied. This kind of minimalist beauty said, "I'm naturally this polished, I don't need to try," which ironically requires an enormous amount of trying. So when we see the rise of the clean girl aesthetic today on TikTok, in Sofia Richie's soft lit wedding reels, or in the wellness tinged feeds of lifestyle influencers, we're not seeing a new trend. We're witnessing a revival of the 90s cool girl, a slightly dewy, more hydrated version, perhaps, but one that still clings to the same old fantasy, the illusion of ease, the power of restraint, and timeless appeal of appearing effortlessly perfect. And much like in the 90s, what we're really being sold isn't just a look, it's a lifestyle. One that seems simple on the surface but requires a very specific kind of privilege, time and taste to maintain. In both eras, minimalism became a form of luxury, and luxury, as we know, often hides in plain sight. Chapter 3, the myth of the effortless woman, beauty that hides the work. For decades, beauty ideals have shifted with the times, yet one fantasy seems to remain strangely immortal, the effortless woman, the one who wakes up radiant, who looks stunning without ever trying, who floats through her life calm, unbothered, and glowing from within. She's the French girl with tousled hair and perfect skin, the model off-duty in her oversized sunglasses and leather jacket, the clean girl with her slick bun and gleaming skin. She is everywhere, and she's a myth. To understand her evolution, we have to go back to the 50s, a time when femininity was all about precision. Housewives were sold an image of domestic perfection, complete with pin-curled hair, red lips and manicured nails, and heels in the kitchen. Beauty was something women performed proudly. Looking good wasn't just a personal choice, it was seen as a moral one. Entire industries sprang up around this idea. Department store counters, mail-order cosmetics, etiquette books, and beauty pageants. Everything was curated, deliberate, and aspirational. By the 1970s, a counterculture had emerged. Natural beauty became a political statement. The no-makeup look began to gain traction throughout. Though ironically, it still required makeup. In the 90s, the aesthetic evolved into something cooler and more ambiguous. The model off-duty look was born slouchy, minimal, but still impossibly stylish. Think Kate Moss and Carolyn Bassett Kennedy again, women who projected effortlessness but were deeply immersed in elite fashion worlds. Today's clean girl is their direct descendant. She's the wellness-obsessed modern muse with a 10-step skincare routine, a Pilates membership, and a bathroom shelf that resembles a curated boutique. Her face looks natural, but it's powdered by serums, acids, hydrating masks, and gua sha tools, and sometimes injectables. Her glow is the product of both privilege and planning. And though her aesthetic screams low maintenance, her reality is anything but. This illusion of effortlessness is part of what makes the clean girl so aspirational and so unattainable. It creates a kind of beauty paradox. Women are encouraged to look perfect, but to never look like they're trying. Visible effort is passé. It's no longer about transformation, it's about subtle enhancement, as if beauty should just happen to you organically, like good genes or a perfect morning routine. But here's the truth, beauty has always taken effort. The only thing that changes is how well the work is hidden. From jade rollers and dry brushing to LED face masks and sleep hygiene content, the clean girl represents a soft power version of beauty labor. It's no longer loud or obvious, but it's still there, underneath the beige layers and glossy skin meticulously maintained and strategically shared online. The message hasn't changed much since the mid-20th century. Women should be beautiful, but now they should pretend that beauty is effortless, that it just happens, that it's the result of a clean lifestyle, not careful curation. But make no mistake, the work is still there, it's just wearing less makeup. I mean, it's so true, like the clean girl, like if you think about it, because you're not allowed to wear a ton of makeup, so if you have bad skin, I mean, you have acne or something, then you can't really be the clean girl in a way, so I don't know. Chapter 4, the soft power of quiet luxury. Clean girl as a modern socialite. Let's talk about what might be the most subtle rebrand of the decade, luxury itself. When Sofia Richie's wedding took over the internet in 2023, it didn't just spark admiration, it ignited a full-on cultural pivot. Suddenly, the aesthetic that defined millennial luxury, flashy logos, Instagram baddie glam, bold fast fashion was being replaced by something quieter, softer, and infinitely more restrained. Sophia's wedding was drenched in sunlight, linen, soft blues, and creams. Her makeup was understated, her hair was classic. Her dresses, 3 custom Chanel looks, were as whisper-thin as her presence on social media. It was luxury without the need to announce itself, and in that a new standard was born. The clean girl, once just a beauty trend, was now fully aligned with the era of quiet luxury. She's not loud, she doesn't flaunt. Her wealth is implied, not declared. Her makeup is dewy, not dramatic. Her wardrobe, monochrome, tailored, and made of the kinds of fabrics that look simple but cost a fortune. Instead of a Birkin bag, she carries a woven leather tote. Instead of a glam squad, she has a Pilates instructor. Her life feels clean, not just because it's simple, but because it's curated down to every ice cube filled Stanley Cup. This is where the clean girl stops being just a TikTok trope and starts embodying the modern socialite archetype. She's not the party girl. She's the influencer jetting to Dubai. She's the calm center of a beige-toned world. And that calm, it's aspirational, because in a world that feels increasingly chaotic, there's a fantasy in imagining the inner peace. Beauty and self-discipline are all part of the same polished package. But this idea didn't begin with Sofia Richie. It echoes a long lineage of public figures who wielded being subtle as a status symbol. Take Carolyn Bassett Kennedy, whose restraint in both fashion and public presence made her the ultimate 90s muse. Or Jackie Kennedy, who turned simplicity into political theater with her pale box hats, perfectly set hair, and minimalist French couture. Their elegance was quiet but intentional, and more importantly, it was exclusive. There's a reason this kind of image keeps returning, because minimalism, when done right, signals power. Not the power of abundance, but the power of selectivity, of taste, of access. It tells us that the woman behind the look is not trying to be seen. She already belongs. Her glow is natural, her beauty innate, her life a study of restraint. She doesn't need to prove anything. And in today's algorithm-driven world, that kind of mystery is rare and valuable. So when we talk about the clean girl aesthetic, we're not just talking about makeup or morning routines. We're talking about a cultural shift in how femininity is expressed and consumed. This version of the feminine ideal is soft, soothing, and ultimately expensive, not just in dollars, but in time, privacy, and quiet discipline it requires to maintain the illusion. Because at its core, this aesthetic isn't just about looking beautiful, it's about performing a certain kind of control. And in a world where most of us feel pulled in 1,000 directions, that control becomes a kind of fantasy in itself. Chapter 5, The Cost of Effortlessness, Beauty, Privilege, and Who Gets to Glow. Let's be honest, the clean girl aesthetic may appear easy and approachable, but underneath the slick buns and beige linen lies something more exclusive. The look is marketed as simple, just a bit of lip gloss, a good skincare routine, and a little self-discipline. But in reality, achieving this kind of curated minimalism requires a surprising amount of time, money, and space. Luxuries not everyone has. Let's start with the skincare routine. The glow that defines the clean girl aesthetic doesn't come from splashing water on your face in the morning. It comes from a layered routine of serums, eye creams, toners, SPFs, and often professional treatments like chemical peels, microneedling, or facials. These are investments, sometimes hundreds of dollars a month, that are disguised as self-care. The clean girl's skin looks healthy because she can afford to make it so. Then there's the wardrobe. The neutral tone sets and buttery basics aren't just pulled from a fast fashion rack. They come from brands, from the Row and Skims, labels that emphasize quality and quiet luxury. Even when the look is casual, it's not cheap. The materials are breathable, the fits are precise, and the color palette is desirably designed to exude sophistication. Again, what seems minimal is actually a signal of wealth. But perhaps the most understated luxury of all is time. The clean girl's lifestyle relies on a sense of slowness and stillness. Her morning routine isn't rushed. She journals, she stretches, she dry brushes her skin. Her fridge is stocked with fresh produce. Her space is serene. Her candles are lit at the right hour of the day. This isn't just aesthetics, it's a lifestyle of optimization, and it demands a level of personal bandwidth that simply isn't available to everyone, especially those balancing long work hours, caregiving, or economic instability. Despite all of this, the aesthetic is often presented online as effortless and universal. You can do this too, it says. Just buy the right products, follow the right steps, wake up a little earlier. But this framing ignores the very real social and economic structures that make effortless beauty far more achievable for some than others. And this isn't new, of course. Beauty standards have always favored a very particular kind of woman, usually thin, white, and well off. From the manicured housewives of the 50s to the barely there 90s Calvin Klein models. There's always been a subtext. To be beautiful is to be disciplined. To be understated is to be respectable. To be subtle is to be safe. I always wonder those like the clean girl look too, because they're always so thin. It kind of reminds me of Jackie Kennedy's, how she had this like really restrained diet. And I just feel like I don't know if I could live like that, because I mean, I like food and I like to indulge here and there. So I just don't think this endless restraint of these routines, like I think I would crack. And the clean girl aesthetic is simply the latest iteration of the fantasy. She's less glossy than the Instagram baddie, more serene than the Y2K party girl, but she's still performing an ideal that not everyone is invited to embody. Her version of minimalism is coded in class. Her glow is aspirational, and her natural look is anything but natural. And while the aesthetic can be genuinely beautiful and even soothing to watch, we have to remember that it's not neutral. It carries with it the same quiet pressures of previous beauty eras. Be soft, be perfect, but never let anyone see you working for it. In this version of femininity, effort is still required. It just has to be invisible. Chapter 6, Soft Focus Survival, Clean Girl as an Aesthetic Escapism. At first glance, the clean girl aesthetic might seem like another trend, another visual template making its rounds through TikTok and social media. But its appeal runs deeper than skincare and smoothies, because the real question isn't what this aesthetic is, but why now? Why is this the version of beauty and lifestyle that so many people are chasing? The answer in part lies in the cultural landscape it emerged from. The clean girl ideal rose to prominence in the shadow of a global pandemic amid widespread burnout, economic uncertainty, and a collective sense of digital overload. In a world that suddenly became claustrophobic, chaotic, and emotionally heavy, the clean girl offered something no algorithm could truly deliver: peace. Or at least the illusion of it. She is calm, she is composed. Her environment is orderly, her body is glowing proof of control. In the midst of a messy, unpredictable world, the clean girl aesthetic became a soft, focused fantasy, one where routines are scared, spaces are sunlit, and life is stripped of excess noise. It is not just aspirational in terms of beauty, it's aspirational in feeling, promises clarity, balance, the soothing rhythm of a curated life. And it's no coincidence that this aesthetic exploded in popularity at a time when people were reassessing their lives from their couches. During lockdowns, we turned to digital spaces to create order. We reorganized our pantries, we discovered face yoga, we romanticized early mornings and aesthetic productivity. The clean girl is a byproduct of that shift, born in quarantine, refined by wellness culture, and perfected in post-pandemic algorithms. This aesthetic also speaks to something deeply psychological. When the world feels out of control, we crave rituals. We crave things we can control. Our morning matcha, our skincare, our apartment decor. The clean girl aesthetic wraps those rituals in beige linens and dewy filters and offers them back to us as self-care. And in a way that's comforting, even if it's not entirely real. But because underneath the glowy skin and TikTok routines is a subtle promise, if you can just get your life clean enough, everything will fall into place. You'll be safe, you'll be admired, and you'll be okay. And that's why it resonates so deeply. The clean girl isn't just an aesthetic, she's a coping mechanism, a fantasy of control in a time of collective exhaustion. And while it's easy to critique her surface, it's important to understand the emotional terrain she emerged from. She offers serenity in a time of overstimulation. And while that serenity may be curated and filtered and at times deeply unattainable, it still offers something that feels soothing, even if it's only on a screen. The clean girl aesthetic may present itself as a modern beauty trend, effortless, minimal, and natural, but as we've seen, there's nothing particularly new or even particularly effortless about it. From the sleek coolness of the 90s minimalism to the soft-spoken elegance of the old money socialites, this look has existed in many forms throughout history. It simply wears different packaging now. The pastel filters, the TikTok transitions, and the language of wellness. But on the surface, it feels calm, peaceful, and safe. But beneath it is a quiet intensity, a demand for control, perfection, and polish. It's not just a look, but a lifestyle ideal that requires time, money, discipline, and a certain kind of privilege. And yet it's sold as something everyone should be able to achieve. The truth is, the clean girl aesthetic is less about beauty and more about aspiration, about signaling that your life is in order, that you've mastered the art of balance, that you found clarity amidst the noise. It taps into a collective longing for simplicity in an overwhelming world, and for the reason it resonates deeply. But maybe that's also why it deserves to be questioned. Because if the fantasy of being clean comes with invisible pressures and hidden costs, is it really something we want to chase? Or is it just another version of an old standard, one that quietly tells women to be beautiful but not too bold, disciplined and not overt, presentable but never chaotic? What would it look like to let go of that image, to embrace mess, individuality, texture, and effort, not as flaws but as realities? Maybe beauty doesn't have to be beige and serene, but it doesn't have to be quiet. Maybe it has to be honest. The next time you scroll past a clean girl morning routine or feel the urge to glow up, pause and ask yourself, whose version of beauty am I trying to become? And more importantly, does this actually look like me? Because in the end, the most revolutionary thing we can do might be to stop chasing effortlessness and start embracing what's real. So let me know in the comments below, are you kind of over the clean girl thing? I mean, I'm all about like having nice skin and like investing in good skincare products, but I'm not one to like get the slick back bun and like the gold hoop earrings. But I don't know, I've always liked vintage and like floral, so I've always just kind of did my own thing and never really tried to like hone in on a certain aesthetic. So anyways, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below. I'm always curious to know everyone else's thoughts on the whole clean girl. Thanks for watching.